Cody Bellinger homers. Cubs win the road trip. Now they head back to Wrigley Field with some momentum. We're going to talk about everything going on, including a call to the minor leagues that kicked up the guy that got it done on the mound. Right here on the Cubs baseball channel, always talking about the Cubs. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. That's a great way of saying that you enjoy Cubs content. Let's get this party started. Here's your invitation to the Cubs baseball channel. All right, there he is. Anthony Pasquale. I'm Mick Gillispie. Welcome to the Cubs baseball channel at Broadcaster Mick. And then there's yours, Anthony. Ant, is that your nickname, Ant?
Yeah, I was Ant all the way growing up. Very recently, I think once the mustache got here, people started rolling with Tony, which is fine also. So I'm kind of used to both now, but I've been doing Ant from back when I was a little kid.
Love that. Love that name. I think we got to start calling you Ant. All right, well, look, Ant, let's get into this now. All right. What a great road trip for the Cubs. They blew two games that they could have had, but they still win the road trip, going to places like San Diego, Seattle, and then Arizona. They had a little payback to Arizona, and they could have swept them.
Yeah, as pissed as I am that you're not coming home from this road trip with a 7-2 record, as you super easily could be, I think I'm more proud of this team that after blowing the 8-0 game and losing the game that you led 11-8 yesterday, they came back the very next day and won those ball games. I think that's the stuff that winning teams do. They don't lose two in a row. Even as stinging as a loss that you might get, they come out the very next day and they beat you. And that's what the Cubs did yesterday. They beat the Diamondbacks 5-3. Jack Peterson made it a little interesting in the ninth. And I was a little shocked to see Drew Smyly out there again. He has kind of been the bearer of bad news for the Cubs a little bit. When he's in high leverage situations, he's been really good in like the 5th, 6th, 7th when he's piggybacked Ben Brown. But when you put him out there the 8th, 9th, or in the extra innings, he's pitched 2 of the extra inning games already and given up the walk-off hit. So I was a little nervous to see him out there, but Cubs come away with a win after that stinging loss 2 nights ago, and I think that tells you a lot about this team. We talked about in the recap yesterday how they just don't quit. They kept battling back. But the other thing is, after they lose, they're going to give you even better effort the next day, and I think that's telling of a good ball club, even with all the injuries.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, to think that you lose that game, a heartbreaker, a slugfest, and you have it, you got the lead late, you can't hold on, and then to come back today and get, Jordan Wicks looking great, and then Hayden Wesneski just brought up, he said he was didn't have any sleep, and maybe that's what he needs, not a lot of time to think about it, just go out there and do it. He went out there and did it, and that sets up the Cubs, 5-4 road trip, now coming back and playing the worst team in baseball, the Marlins. They've got a bunch of internal strife in Miami, and it'd be a good time for the Cubs to just take out a little frustration on them and beat them up.
Yeah, that's a disservice to the Marlins saying that they're the worst team in baseball when there's a team on the south side that looks even worse than them. But
the worst team in the National League.
Yes, and you have to take advantage of those. When the Rockies came to town, the Cubs swept them. It wasn't pretty, but they came away with 3 wins. If you could go and get 4 or at least 3 out of 4 this weekend, you have to feel like you're in a really good spot. But you mentioned Hayden Wesneski just called up from Iowa. The move was announced like 28 minutes before the first pitch, and then here he comes in the 5th inning. Yeah, and 4 innings later, he was dominant, and that he played the fastball off of his breaking stuff so well. There was one at bat, Eugenio Suarez, who we remember back from the Reds. He's a Cub killer, and Wesneski got him on 3 straight check swings. He looked terrible, and Wesneski's stuff was great. Wicks, he's got swing and miss stuff more this year than last year. He's missing bats way better. The only problem is he can't seem to get past the 5th inning, and that's a problem. I'm starting to think that the stuff is so good swing and miss wise, and I think you'll like where I'm going with this too. If Tyone really establishes himself when he's back and Justin Steele comes back, maybe it's Wicks that goes to the bullpen so Assad can stay in the rotation, because Wicks has more of that swing and miss stuff, And if Wesneski's going to be that long inning reliever, Assad's better in the rotation. But I like Wicks. I think he was good today, or yesterday, I should say. But Wesneski was just masterful behind him.
Well, here's what I think. The organization doesn't allow the minor league pitchers that are prospects to pitch more than really 4 or 5 innings. And they're doing that because they're so afraid of somebody blowing out like Cole Franklin, and looked like he did a couple of days ago. They're doing it with Cade Horton right now, where he's throwing 4 innings, right? And you can't have it both ways. You can either develop a guy to be able to go through the lineup 3 times, or you can develop someone to pitch 4 innings and be healthy. And so it's a real dilemma for the Cubs, because you're right. I mean, this guy never pitched 6 innings. He wasn't allowed to, right? And then all of a sudden now you're trying to figure that out in the major leagues. But, for his 5-inning starts, he's doing a great job. The Cubs, as a franchise, last check, and I don't have it up right now, but their starters had gone the minimum, like the lowest amount of innings in the starts with all the teams in there. And I think that's partly their philosophy. They would rather have the bullpen out there and not stretch those starters out. So that's something
I wouldn't
do through the entire organization.
Yeah.
But the problem is that you wear your bullpen out, and when you mix in extra inning games, it gets a lot worse. At least the Cubs can say, hey, split the extra inning games, and then took care of business yesterday. And now, coming back to Wrigley with some momentum. And it was good to see Cody Bellinger get going.
Yeah, he went yard. Just to go back to your pitching comment for a second there, I think part of the thing that's frustrating is a lot of people are continuing to throw David Ross under the bus, saying he would have kept this guy in or he would have taken this guy out. But the fact of the matter is, if these guys aren't built to go more than 5 innings and you don't give a bullpen that's worth 2 cents out there, no matter who it is that he's turning the ball over to, you're not going to feel great about it. And that's something that I think you kind of got to stop pointing fingers at David Ross and pointing fingers at Craig Counsell and start pointing them at Jed, saying like, how did you not get us some more depth in this bullpen? Because every day we're holding our breath with a 3-run, 4-run, 8-run lead. Like, it shouldn't be that way. So that's something I hope with Keegan Thompson and Wesneski coming up and pitching well, that you can kind of figure out these roles. And the Cubs have a knack of turning their bullpen into pretty good by like June, July. So I hope that's the case this year, and mix that with some good starters, and that pitching staff looks way better than it does right now. But they've been banged up. Thankfully, the offense came through yesterday. Cody Bellinger hit a homer. Even in Arizona, they're chanting, Cody, Cody. And even in Arizona, he's delivering. That was awesome to see. Turned on one. He's at his best when he's pulling the crap out of the ball, which is very rare. Most guys are at their best when they're taking it the other way, but Bellinger really could turn on some of these pitches. And hopefully coming back to Wrigley, he starts to get hot. And that other name up there, Michael Busch, stays hot. He had a RBI single up the middle that drove in, I think, the go-ahead, or turned into be the go-ahead run. And the Cubs end up winning 5-2 thanks to those 2 lefties.
Yeah, well, 5-3. They gave up a home run.
That's right, Jock.
In the 9th inning. Yeah, our old friend Jock Peterson. But maybe it's some of that home cooking, being from the Scottsdale area. I think Gilbert. For some reason, I think he's from Gilbert, but maybe Scottsdale in general. Cody Bellinger. So back home again, and probably needed to get something like that going to find himself, because the balls haven't been falling for him, but they fell for him yesterday. And he not only did he have the home run, but he had the RBI hit, and quietly, 2-for-4 game. I like where he's going. And then Michael Busch has been so huge since Seiya Suzuki went out, and we're not going to have Seiya Suzuki back for a while, right? I mean, they're saying it at least 4 weeks. It could be 6 weeks, and who knows with any kind of muscle strain. But 5 straight games with a home run. He's just that's his position now, and it's going to be hard to take him out. And I'm curious to see if he eventually starts to get bats against left-handers. In the majority of the league, Boog loves the stats, and one of them that he talked about today was, that 70% of the league has right-handed starters.
Yeah,
and so that's that's what you got. You're going to play a lot if you're left-handed against those righties, but to be a superstar, which he's kind of on, I feel like he's kind of on the way of becoming. you want to get those at bats and success, like Freddie Freeman, for example, who's a guy that's in LA instead of Bush, has had success against him. So we'll see how this goes, but he's been so huge. That looks like it's going to be a great trade for the Cubs. It wouldn't be where they are without him. And, and now we get to look at the Marlins.
Yeah. And that's what's so important about Christopher Morel making some tides at third base is that if you're confident with him there, you can keep Bush at first. And then when you're up against lefties, then Garrett Cooper is the DH, and you don't have to worry about needing Morel as the DH because Madrigal's over at third. And even once Patrick Wisdom comes up, that's another guy that just mashes lefties. But you still want to get Bush some at bats against left-handers, because if he's going to be your everyday guy, he's got to face both sides of the plate. So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. As Morel gets more and more comfortable, which it looks like he's getting, that gives the Cubs so much more lineup flexibility, which I'm sure Craig Counsell is looking forward to. But yeah, you mentioned it. Cubs back today at Wrigley Field. I'm going to my first Cubs game of the year tonight. I'm pumped for it. Going to be back at Wrigley, and we're working out the technology to hopefully be bringing you the tomorrow's episode from Wrigley. Hopefully that works out. But Jameson Taillon is going to be making his season debut. Hopefully he has just as much success as Wesneski did yesterday against a bad Marlins team. So it's probably the best you can throw him up against to kind of work back into form. I know he wasn't completely stretched out, but if you get 4 or 5 strong innings out of him, you have to feel good about that. Bullpen is mostly rested because Wesneski was able to eat up 4 innings yesterday.
Yep. And there you go. And then don't forget, Friday, we'll have our watch party, our second watch party. So you guys be here for that, where we watch Cubs and Marlins together as a family. So we got a lot going on here.
Oh yeah, on
the Cubs baseball channel. So and the other thing is what's going to happen with Kyle Hendricks, because he's right now he's having just a trying a nice way of saying it, but it just hasn't been pretty.
Yeah.
And when
that's about as nice as you can put it.
Well, they're going to do something when they bring Taillon up. That could be him. That's the odd man out. And I wonder if he's been pitching hurt. I just wonder what they do with him, because it's clearly not good enough for him. He said that, and he's struggling, and something's just not right. Whether he's gotten to the point in age where he's unable to execute his pitches, or if he just needs to get back in the lab or maybe rest or something. But yeah, I'm guessing when Taillon returns, he's going to take Hendricks' spot in the rotation. You can't move any of the other pitchers out.
Right. So here's the thing. And they did release their probables for the Marlins series, starting with Taillon today. And then Imanaga Friday for our watch party, which I'm excited about. Assad Saturday and Hendricks Sunday. So they're skipping Brown to go to Hendricks. Now there's 2 questions I have about that. Is Brown potentially the guy going down with Taillon coming up? Or are they giving Hendricks one last shot against the worst team in baseball?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'd be surprised if he ends up making that start. If
Brown's been so good, you can't get rid of him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if you send him to the minors, there's a time limit on when he can come back. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm totally off base here. But I mean, he's had the worst start that a Cubs pitcher's had, ever, right? And so, I mean, it's obvious that it's just not happening right now. So I don't know. I'm not cheering against him, but it's competition. And you guys in the comment section have said that, and you're exactly right. It's competition, and he's been out competed, by Brown and these other guys. So we'll see what happens. They're going to have to make a move when Taillon comes back on the roster. And that'll tell you, if they send one of those minor league guys down, then you'll know that he's back up there again. And maybe they feel like they're just tweaking something, and they can get it figured out. But he goes out there and gets run over again. Then there's only so many more times that you can go out there and give up 5 runs in a 4 or 5 inning start and stick around.
Right. And with Palencia going down, Quas went down earlier in the week. Luke Little went down, and they bring up Brewer. I was wondering if moving Merriweather to the 60-day IL opened up a spot that
Well, it did. They
Tyone
did
would
that
take?
today. No, they did that today. So,
And that
or
puts
yesterday.
Brewer on the roster?
Yeah, sorry, yesterday. Yeah, that's the spot Brewer took.
Okay, so then you still need to clear room for Tyone once he's off the injured list.
There's not
So,
an extra spot right now.
Yeah, so we'll probably hear momentarily what that move is. The game's tonight at 6:40, and he's the probable starter. So that'll be something to keep an eye on for sure. But that Sunday move with Hendricks currently probable in Ben Brown's spot in the rotation, definitely something to keep our eyes on as we get toward the weekend.
Yeah, that would make no sense to me. Although he is paid to be a starter on the team. So we'll keep an eye on it all. But, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure that you get in the comments section, talk about the Cubs, share with your Cubs friends what a road trip. It has not been easy. These have not been easy wins.
No way.
But I'll tell you what, I like the way that this team fights and competes. And I like Craig Counsell. I really do. I like the way that he works the young guys in. He's good with the strategy. Even when Smiley came in at the end of the game, I know some people were upset about it, and I understand that. But you just don't have many options right now.
Yeah.
And would you have felt more comfortable with Neris to come in and walk everybody? At least Smiley's throwing strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like you're just trying to make chicken salad out of
No, finish it.
Chicken shit. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk to you again soon on the Cubs baseball channel. Go Cubs.